Well, I was doing a great job on this before. I was playing with the pen and hit the wrong button and stopped the video. So now I've got to start all over again because I don't, do the editing thing and I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So now I'm going to start over again. Wanted to talk about volunteering in volunteering for the gospel. And no, I didn't say for the church. I said for the gospel. There's a difference between doing churchy things and doing things for the gospel, because there are quite many churches that do not serve the gospel. They serve philanthropy, they serve philosophy, they serve selfism, or some stale, watered down version of what the gospel is supposed to be. So, volunteering for the gospel. That's and I'm not being sponsored. I didn't ask for permission to do this or anything, so I hope I don't get in trouble for this. But this is my authentic. I got a couple of these shirts because I volunteered. Here's how it happened. For a while, I've been looking for purpose and direction. When I say purpose, I mean specific purpose, not like, oh, what am I going to do in life? Because I'm bordering 50 in a couple of years, so got to figure it out before then. But I was set up to take a trip. I had a few days before I was supposed to board and go take a trip to visit a ministry down south. And I just decided, like, I want to do this. I want to. There's no excuse for it. There's no permission needed. I just want to do it. So I because I wanted to witness the preaching myself, witness the service myself, as I made observation about in another video about, I wanted to see, Pastor Hens, I wanted to see him in action in person, so I went and volunteered. But, so I had a few days before, and I was just thinking, like, oh, I'm just going to sit around and, business is going to be really slow for some reason. I'm like, oh, so I'm just going to, and I knew, like, oh, it's just going to be awesome just waiting for the time to go by. So I remembered someone in a prayer group at church. They mentioned to me that I should look up on Samaritan's Purse for a certain thing. So I was like, all right, so I'll start with that. I'll start looking up that certain opportunity. So when I got on there, it said opportunities. I'm like, well, let me just look on here. And it isn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a specific, certain, like, how do I contact these people to ask about this or ask about that? Well, went on there, saw opportunities, and it says where you can volunteer. All right, well, let me look that up. I knew I wasn't able to, like, get out to Europe or anything like that at the moment because I'm just not in that financial situation. But I saw that it had some local ones, like out in, like, in New York, like, not in the city, but kind of out in the country area. Like, the whole rest of New York is country. The only part that we hate, well, not hate, but the only really troubled part is down in the city for obvious reasons. But so there was that. There was some places out in Kentucky and Oklahoma, I think, and so there was one in Barry, Vermont. I was like, wait a minute. So I looked it up on the phone, saw it was like 150 miles. I'm like, that's actually not bad. So I was taking off my original track, and I was like, well, let me look this up. So looked up what was required, how to prep for it, what to do, what to think, I prepared. And so this was my flight was to take off on Saturday afternoon. This was, at the moment, it was a Tuesday afternoon. So I looked at the calendar. It said, what are the requirements? It says, well, you can volunteer for a day, you can volunteer for 3 days and 2 nights, or da-da-da. And that voice came in my head again, can't. So I was like, well, and then another one was like, well, why can't you? Like, what in absolute value, what's holding you back? Okay. It's like, well, I can take daily trips, go and come back. Why go and come back? It's 150 miles each direction. You want to go drive for 3 hours or 2.5 hours, work and slop or whatever it is you're going to be doing, and then turn around and drive all the way back. and then turn around and drive. I was like, why do you want to do that? Okay. So then I really started looking at the schedule. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3. So that means that I would be back probably Friday evening. Okay, well, that's realistic, and I can sleep there. Well, that's realistic. Okay, just got to take some food, because who knows if, I didn't know what to look out for. I didn't know how to plan. And I've been on the road before. I've actually worked on the road, like on working for a tower company. So we were always told, like, pack for a month or pack for 2 weeks. You never know how long you're going to be out. So I went in there and I made like 4 dinners. I really should have refrigerated them, but I kept them in my bag because I stayed pretty busy. And like they fed you very well, very well. So I got everything ready, and I was like, all right, man, I'm just going to head up there early in the morning. So I registered, I did everything. I actually called them and asked them some questions, and, they confirmed certain things. I was like, all right, I'm going to be up there. So drove all the way up there. I think I got in there right in the middle of breakfast. I wasn't necessarily hungry, but, I mean, the minute I got in there, they were just completely welcoming. All of them. They were just welcoming. I was tired. I was like, kind of spun from being on the road all that time, staring at the road. Very welcoming. Just a very, very casual, relaxed, but busy atmosphere. Very busy, but everything was just cool. So I'm kind of getting acclimated. They're like, hey, so like here, okay, well, actually, I said I actually forgot to bring my sleeping bag. I forgot to bring my pillow and stuff. Like, do you think that I can just, oh yeah, we got something. Well, I can get you a cot and get you some stuff. So I followed the lady to the trailer that they have, and like she tried. I was like, listen, I don't need all this stuff. Just it'll be fine. So very welcoming, very receptive, very organized, very professional, like ready to go. I was almost intimidated, but they were just sweet and nice. So go in there, have a little breakfast. I wasn't really hungry or anything, and didn't exactly know what to expect. And then they had like a small prayer gathering. They had a little, anyone giving testimony. People were in and out. Some people were staying for a few days. Some people were in and out the next day. It was a revolving door. But so they're like, all right, so just get your stuff together and go outside, and they're gonna put you on a team. This one guy came and he immediately grabbed me and goes, you're going to be on my team. I was like, okay. I didn't know who was what. I didn't know who was the leader. I didn't understand anything. I was like, okay, I'm here. And I remember inside of me, on the way up there, just thinking, oh, Lord, just give me strength, because I hate construction cleanup. I hate it. I used to have to do it for a labor agency, and it was just a miserable time in life. It was miserable. Broke, hungry, working in the elements. Like, it was just, I hated it. I hated it with a fear. I hated it. I didn't want to go back to that dungeon way of life. But so I was like, help me overcome this, Lord. Just be with me, and just help me to just work hard and just be healthy and have a good attitude. I really want this. So we get everything together, and he's like, all right, just who are you gonna ride with? And I ended up riding with some people. We showed up at the first owner's home, or whatever it was. And basically in this area there had been a lot of rainfall, and there's like a river that snakes through the area. So we did a lot of mountain area stuff, like lower mountain area stuff. And some of these people, like some people had nice houses that were just in the wrong, in a very troubled spot, and some of these people were serious, like, river people. When I say river people, I mean like what you see on the movie. Like, they're just not with modern society. They're not, and it doesn't bother them. They're not rebelling against it. They're just not modern people at all. And I started gaining, like, you could tell the difference between the people that were like normal, Walmart, Best Buy society, and then the people who are like not. It's just they weren't bothered by things in the world. They just weren't. And if they, like one guy, he called us, and he was like 70 something, and maybe he had a bad back or something. He was nice guy, very nice, welcoming. Like his house looked like a patched up chicken pen. Inside, it was full. It was full. And I won't say that he was like a hoarder, but it seemed to me like maybe he had a wife a long time ago, and then like she just took care of everything, and then at some point she passed. This is just my perspective. I didn't ask. I was like, but from what I was observing, it seemed like his wife might have passed or something, and he just didn't touch anything after that. Maybe just kind of piled things up after that. But I could tell at some point there had been a woman's touch in there, but then like gone, and then things had just kind of piled. Maybe he just started kind of losing it a little bit. But he had like, so the river was usually probably about 7 feet below where his house was, but now it was literally like this close. Like it was like here's land, and the river was flowing like this, and they were expecting more rain. And he was like, well, I tried to clean this, but I can't really move it, and like when the water comes up, it just pushes it all again, pushes all this years of debris, construction debris, like old appliances, just stuff, and it was stacked up over there like Sanford and Son. So the one thing I admired about his house a lot, I liked the antiquity, and I liked like his way of life kind of, but the one thing I admired about his house is of everything that was old and like dilapidated, he had an American flag up there. It was big, it was bright, it was new, and I was like, amen, Lord, thank you. He had kind of a newer car in there too. Nothing fancy at all, but the guy, like, he was just a good-natured guy, very good-natured guy. So what we were tasked with was he had a massive leaking roof, a massive leak in the roof, and in the basement it was like water and mud and having to move some things around. And then like his yard, like I just looked at it, I was like, we're going to be here for a long time. We are going to be here for a long time. Like, and I was kind of tired. I was kind of getting kind of grumpy, but they went up and they started patching the roof, and the way they do it, this is one thing I really, really started admiring and respecting about the organization. They don't do cheap stuff. They don't do like Mickey Mouse rigged work. They do it right. So instead of just getting up there with a tarp and like putting some nails and holding it down, he's like, no, there's a certain way we do this. And even some of the guys that were up there, they were seasoned construction guys. They were seasoned roofers and seasoned electricians. And our team leader, I think he might have been an ex-fireman. I think so. He was something, because he was on top of his game. Very nice guy, friendly, direct to action. And he never got impatient with anyone. Never. He never got impatient. Sometimes, everyone asking him questions, he's a little overwhelmed, but he never got impatient. He never got short with people. Gets up there, he goes, this is the way the organization likes it. And he was like when it was done, it was like, oh, that's pro. That is pro. That's good. Like, they don't play games with it. So we had probably 15 people out there. Praise God we did. I'm so glad we had a lot of people out there at this certain site. We worked hard. We had guys from Canada, West New York against the lakes, Wisconsin. We had people from like all over the north, like all over. And like these guys that came down from Canada, what a blessed heart. Just they were happy workhorses. Happy, motivated, diligent, hardcore workhorses, big fat smiles. Some of them talking to each other in French, and then turn around and speak to you in English. Sweet man from Wisconsin. I mean, he so reminded me of my grandfather. We were like, I gave him a little lip, kind of like, jaw jacking him a little bit. He didn't know what to make of it at first, but we were just like, my last day, I just went and took a picture with him, hugged him, and he's like, "Oh, come on, buddy," and I really adored this guy. One thing they encouraged us. If we're able to comfort the owner, comfort them. If we're able to pray with them, pray with them. There's no hierarchy. There was no titleism. There was none of that. We did have to pay attention to the leaders, and they did have a chain of command, but it was like the church. It was like the first church. We're there to love, to help, to respect, to work. No one gave you any crap about not working enough or not work, and if you needed to sit down, you need to sit down. A couple times I was given the opportunity to lead prayer and to present the Bible. They have a certain Bible that they give victims or property owners, whatever. The only people who are allowed to have that Bible are the people who we were going to help. Other people, staffers, nobody else can have that kind of a Bible. And it's meant for a certain reason. It's not like because it's a great Bible. It's because it's set up. It's the Bible, and then it has some commentary in it of Billy Graham collected towards the end of his life. And he said, well, these are the 50 questions that were most asked during all my years. And I wanted to give godly wisdom according to the best of my ability to answer those questions. So off the bat, I was like, hey, do you mind if I if I present one? He goes, yeah, sure, you can do this one. I'm like, wow. Like, it just doesn't work like that in churches around here. It's like, no, you got to be certain, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, I'll just sit in the congregation and bobble my head like everybody. Like, no, I mean, after years, I've gotten kind of tired of not being able to, we're in church. Like, we ought to be able to share. And it's very limited sharing if you're not certain people, if you're not certain elders, if you don't have a title. It's more of a popularity and favoritism contest. So there was that. The first day we finished. It wasn't early, it wasn't late, but I was like, wow, man, it's so much different than being in the industrial world. You're not wiped out or anything. And then we got back, and he's like, well, you gotta get ready for supper. I was like, that's cool. I think I'm ready to have something. So they fed us like family. Everybody got fed like family. There's plenty to go around. And at the end, I end up I gave testimonies every day. I'm thinking, why not? It's like I would wait. No one else had anything to say, so I'd get up and say something. I was like, hey, I don't want to, hog the mic or anything, and I just told him So that happened a few times. We went from house to house and just did a great job. I learned a lot. I learned how if there's mold or something, how to clean it, and I saw how in some areas if there's wood paneling or something, they take a certain measurement up, and of course talking with the property owner, okay, listen, this is how much we need to cut, and they had these guys come in there with their saws and cut across, and there was one that the carpet needed to be ripped up, and I'd had experience with that before. I'd worked with a carpet guy. He's like, well, you jump on that. I'm like, oh, this is cool, man. I don't have to be put down or you wait until it's your time. It wasn't anything like that. If you know how to do it, jump on it. So it was great. Sometimes I didn't really want to do it, but I'm and I had to just remind hey, this is your freedom to do it or to whatever. And saw some just beautiful places. There was one guy that I stopped working and I started talking to him. We're talking about smoking. We're talking about certain addictions and mental issues and things like this, because he had some mental stuff. We talked for a little while, and then like I ended up like I asked him if he wanted to pray. He goes, sure. So I put my hand on him, and I prayed through him, and I looked for a second, and I noticed like some people were looking at me. I'm like, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this a little later, but it's okay. Here I am. So I was praying with him, and that was great. And then someone was like, hey, Rob, you're going to come back and help? I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And then at the end, someone's like, it was really nice what you did with that guy. I'm like, I'm not getting scolded. Like, that's cool. Like, I was in, so you're welcome to, I mean, within a boundary. Like, you can't, like, if you feel led, if you know what you're doing, and not just to go and just start running your mouth and just blah 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 the whole time, like you're there to work. But I felt I do this anyway. I do this with my clients. I do it with people on the street sometimes. So I was in my place. Finished up, we left. And there's some people like, when we were back at the lodge, or back at the church, and sometimes you talk with people, you can relax, you're free to do whatever you want. While I was there, I was looking for more opportunity. How do I get on? And I wasn't necessarily looking for a career, but it was my direction. I'm like, I adore this. I could do this all the time. I hate construction cleanup. I hate it, but I adore this. I adore what this organization does. I love how the respect is so equal. The respect, the attention is so equal. Like, no one's busy. Even if they are busy, it's like, hey man, can I talk to you? Yeah, come on over, like they got chaplains, the sweetest, coolest, very, very wise people, very gospel-centered. Like, I got some very good advice from a couple of them. And I was like, it's the first time in a long time that I've been in a church environment, and I love the people, and I love the organization. There was no pretentiousness at all. There was no defensiveness at all. I was like, Lord, this is what I want. This is what I want. And I want what they do. I want to go with them. This is what I want, Lord, And if it's not with this organization, I want with an organization. I'm more focused on the mechanic end of stuff, and I really do want to go abroad. I want to go to Eastern Europe. I want to go to Central Europe. I want to go to those places. I saw this as a great stepping stone, if not, the place. I want to continue doing this. And they're not the only ones. They're just the ones that really got my heart. I love them. I adore them. And I know that, like, anytime I want to volunteer, if I have the ability and the opportunity and I can do it, if I can get there, doors open. I've already been set up. I've already been briefed and everything. And now it's like, how many deployments can you take? It's like, I'm like, oh Lord, I'm in. This is my adventure. This is what I like. I can take this everywhere. But obviously, you got to be able to afford to do stuff, and you got to get backing and things like this. So some people were doing it as they were retired. Some people were like taking time off of, taking their crew, and say, hey, let's go help them out or something. And some people were just different situations. So I'm like, Lord, this is really what I want. And I'm saying, like, there's other church organizations you can do it with, but I will really glorify Samaritan's Purse and donate as you're able to, because they are not in any matter of definition fraudulent with anything. They have a budget, but the budget's for a reason. They are very well orchestrated. They are very on target. They have very good equipment for the purpose of what they're doing, to take care of the volunteers and to take care of who they're going after. And their cleaning facilities, say, like, their kitchen, they have a kitchen trailer. They have, at the site that I was at, they had a kitchen trailer, they had a showers and bathroom trailer, and they had a headquarters trailer. Um, all immaculate. Immaculate. They were taken very well care of. Um, the mechanic that they have made me very jealous. I was like, I am not in this guy's league at all. He was humble. Every person you talked to was humble, and they were very receptive. Like this guy, he was like working on a piece of equipment. I was like, hey man, do you mind if I ask you a question? He stopped what he was doing. He did this, and he turned around, and he gave me his attention. And it wasn't like, all right, just what do you need? Nothing like that. He stopped and he listened, and asked him questions. I talked to him, and oh man, it's like things were just in immaculate condition, and they were in immaculate condition because people work hard on them. They work very hard on them, and it's like this place, like this organization is like the special operations of disaster rescue. When I say disaster rescue, I'm not talking. I want to be careful how I word it, but basically going out like when a disaster happens to help the people. Not hostage situations, nothing like that, but to literally be there for people. Like, hey, your house just got wiped away. I want to come and I want to help you. And if the Lord wills, if the Lord allows, if the Lord, provides, maybe we can rebuild for you. Something like that. I'm going to be careful how I announce what they do, because you can go on their website, but I really adore this organization, and I didn't even know I was going to do it. It was a moment. It was just a moment thing. Like, let's do it. Let's go. It really changed the trajectory of how I think, of what I want to do. And I saw that there were some things like what they're looking for. Like, okay, like they need to hire some people, but they don't hire a ton of people. They only hire specifically what they need. And I saw like, okay, well, out in Eastern Europe or out in Africa, like, they need certain mechanics, but the certain mechanics they need a certain kind, and you have to be good at what you do. I'm like, okay, so I decided like I need to learn that. Like, mainly it's on industrial diesel. And I'm like, I decided I want to learn, not because of the money involved, but because I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to like get on with that. And if I don't end up getting on with them, I want to go in that direction. So the purpose that what I'm saying here is it's like God is showing me direction. He's preparing my mind and my heart. Like, I'm not going out there to be successful. Like, oh man, I want to make, $250 a year. I'm not, that's not my purpose. My purpose is I want to get out there and do this. I want to celebrate the Lord. This is how I want to do it. I don't want to do it necessarily to be industrial. I want to do it to be purposeful for society, for the gospel. And I love what they do. I'm not really. I want to be careful with how I say that. I'm going to end this in a second, but I just want to really encourage you to look for opportunities to volunteer. Look for them. There's other, and I want to say Christian organizations. But there are other ones. I know this one's probably the biggest one. I'm not sure, if this is the only one that they have, but it's just, it will bless your heart. God will use you to bless other people, and it's just great. I'm going to let you go. I'm glad I made this about it, and I definitely look for the Lord to open up more opportunity for me to really get engaged out there. Really get engaged. All right, that's all I have for now. Thanks. This is Christian Chronicles.